Welcome to the 52 Love Podcast, your show for 52 lessons in 52 weeks. Before we dive in, remember you can find the audio version of this episode, along with the rest of the series, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Radio Public. And now, here's your host, Ms. Tonya Todd.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the 52 Love Podcast. 52 Love began as a blog series last year, 52 Love Lessons in 52 Weeks. This year, we are exploring each of those tips with a new guest each week. This week's tip is to volunteer with your partner and do something socially conscious with your partner. And here to talk about it are my guests, AJ and Vogue. Would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us what you do?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. I'm AJ Moyer. We are artists based out of Las Vegas. I founded the Battleborn Slam here in Las Vegas, hosted the Human Experience open mic for years, the Talkie Trees Arts Festival that was held monthly at the Arts Factory. And now I work as an IT professional.
Cool. My name is Vogue Robinson. I was the Poet Laureate for Clark County from 2017 to 2019. I'm a poet, I'm an author, a teaching artist, and every once in a while I paint as well. And yeah, happy to be here.
Well, welcome, both of you. I know you because I've met Vogue at various literary events, but I didn't know that you, AJ, were involved with some of the slams and organizing some of that stuff. Tell us more about that.
So I started slamming back in 2004 when I moved to Flagstaff, Arizona, and then came back here in 2008, 2009, and there wasn't much of a scene in town. So got involved with some other local poets who had been around for a long time in the open mic scene, and we decided that it was time to make sure there was a slam here in Vegas. There had been slams before, but there was probably like a 3-year gap where there hadn't really been anything. So Carrie O'Connor was sort of the other person that I was involved with starting that with, and RJ Reynolds was a huge part of it too.
Is that how the two of you met?
Not through the slam, but through one of the open mics. Human Experience at the Beat in downtown.
It wasn't there. It was at the Arts Factory. The Arts Factory had an open mic night. And it was hosted by Lee Myers, and she's the mom of one of our friends. We ended up being in their wedding. We were the best people in their wedding. But we
Very
met
cool.
At the Arts Factory in the patio. It was like poetry in the patio. The jam.
Yeah.
Was it?
Painters and Poets.
Painters and Poets Jam. So yeah, it was there we met, and then we hung out more often at Human Experience, and that was at the, why can I names of things? Emergency Arts. Yeah, I was like the Beat. Yeah, it's gone.
So we met at the Arts Factory, but our relationship grew and kind of formed at the Beat.
Yeah. Poetry stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, poetry.
And I will say that live poetry is something that I have definitely missed over this past year. I'm sure you guys feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually just had our first live in-person event either of us have been to in a while.
It's like my third. I'm on 3. Yeah, I was like, I'm on 3.
First for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's blazing already. She was eager to get back out there.
They set stuff. Henderson was really great about setting up the pavilion. It was an outdoor venue, but so many events start right at 6, and it just doesn't work for getting both of us there at the same time. If he's working all the way up till 5, it's like you're not going to get across town in timely fashion because traffic is becoming again. So
yes, I've noticed.
The devil, the devil.
Folks have forgotten how to drive too.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some truth to that. So this week's tip was to volunteer with your partner or do something compassionate. What did you two decide to do?
We did two things because we're overachievers. So I had originally picked out doing freerice.com, which is just, like it's word games. And you, for every like couple of questions you answer, you create a bowl of rice that will be donated to folks who are in need of food. And rice is one of those simple grains. It's easily transported. If you ever grew up without, rice and beans will get you to and through. So I used to play it in college, but I was like, have you ever played it? And AJ was like, once. And I was like, all right, let's play it. So we played that. And then we also donated to NPHY. So tell me, I was like, I never get the acronym right.
Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth.
Yes.
Okay.
So
how do you know about that one? I've never even heard of that one. And I work with the Homeless Teen Center, Street Teens all the time. So tell us about that. How'd you find out about it? And what's your affiliation with them?
Well, we had a close friend in the poetry scene, Jordan Caldwell, who used to volunteer there and always talked it up at some of the local open mics. And my father has also had some involvement with them with the what is his
Fisher House?
Called? Fisher House, and
Dad's a veteran, a Vietnam veteran, and so their organization they built an actual like hospital accompaniment, and so it's for if a veteran needs a major surgery and it's going to take a long period of time. That house is there for the family, so it's like a hotel for the family to stay at while their loved one is either in the surgery or recovering from the surgery. So if you need people to come in from out of town, they can stay there too. So it's super cool. But Dad, and then that group also does other different types of philanthropy all over town. And they also work with NPHY.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I guess the rice one would be appealing because you word for a living, right? Like it.
And it was a video game option too. Like I just started playing video games over the what are we gonna call this? 2020. The horrifyingness is 2020. But I've been playing more games with AJ as opposed to like, okay, yeah, you have fun with that really complicated shooter game. I do things that have two buttons and up. Like I still need an up down. What is it called?
D-pad.
Is that what they're called? But it's
yes.
not in the shape of a D.
Directional pad.
It's not in the shape of a D.
A little cross.
I need a cross. So I've been learning how to do the toggle. I had another game I was playing, but it was kind of a combination of like things we love because we hosted game nights a lot when we were when it was much more safe to do so. So we're board game people, we're word nerds, and we work a lot. When we learned a lot more with the youth too. So with our poetry, we were volunteering and teaching in classrooms, and we were conducting workshops within the community. Even all of AJ's hosting of events, that was all free. So I'm like, low key, our whole relationship is pretty philanthropy centered. But it's cool now because we both work more in different fields that have actually allowed for us to actually financially donate. And it's like, holy crap, I think we're grown-ups. Like we can donate money and not be like, y'all need stuff, we need stuff too.
And money is very much needed in almost any situation. Like they need volunteers, they need donations, but they definitely need funds too. And if you are at a position where you can donate money, please do so to these causes. On that note, what are some other organizations that are important to the two of you?
What else do we do? Well, I mean, I literally helped found Poetry Promise, which is a nonprofit in the Valley that supports poets, and we advance the knowledge and practice of poetry. And so through that, we have a program called APP, which is Alzheimer's Poetry Project. So we used to go into nursing homes and retirement facilities, and literally we'd go in, we'd read poetry, we'd teach it. There's so many different ways of connecting poetry to any age group, and I really love that. And so that program, we also have Poets in the School, so going into the classrooms. I taught quite a few online as well. And then I'm reading, so we brought Joy Harjo via the internets for a reading and a writing workshop as well. And so, yeah, that's probably my main nonprofit life. But I can't remember. I spread the word, Nevada. I found out about them through the other, not quite open mic, but artist showcase that you were a part of. And basically, they give away books.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
I'm here for books and giving away books and keeping too many books in our house.
Is there such a thing?
No comment.
Oh, that's not loud.
There's no such thing as too many books, maybe too many bookcases.
Well, you have to keep them somewhere. You can't just have them in stacks on the floor like I do.
Seriously.
We'll make a match over time.
Yes. We'll do something. I need a room. I need a room for just books, basically. And then I need a room for painting. And so basically space. But anyways,
that's a dream, isn't it? To have a grand library in your home and then
I just want
an art
library.
studio.
Seriously. I'm sorry. So what about you? I'm trying to think about if you have any other organizations you support.
I was trying to as well. I can't really think of any other major ones. Yeah. Food Not Bombs, but you probably know more about them than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it?
Food Not Bombs.
Okay.
They were actually building, so we live in North Las Vegas, and like you can take the back way to downtown, like you pass up Nuru dispensary, like you can go the back way, and it's nerve-wracking to drive past buildings that are empty, that are or used to be hotels, and then you pass up the cemetery, and the juxtaposition of a cemetery and empty buildings and people who are homeless. Just, it's almost like, and people are sleeping like literally along the edges of the cemetery. So it's just kind of like being on the edge of life and death. So it's such a jarring thing to see and think about. And also to know that there's space. There's an empty plot of land that's been empty as long as I've lived here. But anyways, Food Not Bombs, they donate food. I think they actually linked up with another organization that created a community refrigerator. So they actually put food in the refrigerator for people to come and take as they please. And it's like, don't put anything in the fridge you wouldn't want to eat. So they partnered with them, and they also build like small,
almost tiny home style shelters.
Okay.
They're not quite to code. So the city tends to bulldoze them. So I know, so at some point some of them are starting to hand out tents as well, but they actually have a lot of people who know how to build like cute little Conestoga. I think they're called Conestoga huts. Am I making up words? I think they're Conestoga huts, but they're insulated because like during, winter is winter for a certain period of time out here, and then summer.
Yeah, the extremes.
Oh yeah, I think those are our major orgs where we know people who are a part of those organizations. And I think that helps too, like with just having some faith in it. Like sometimes it's hard to have faith in our government sometimes, or other entities, and hoping they follow through. But when you know someone personally, it just gives you a larger sense of like trust and literally community. We're doing this together, and what are the big and small things we can do? How can we each contribute?
And I thought of one other one that is significant for me. FEAT, Families for Ethical Autism Treatment. They're a local organization for parents of kids on the autism spectrum. They hold events around town that are like community-based events for parents with those shared experiences to come together. And they also advocate for better, more effective treatment for kids on the autism spectrum, so that we get farther away from those sort of negative punishment-based treatments that have been historically popular, and get into more ethical and positive behavior shaping. It's a very nice organization. They work with Sports Social,
Like Sports Social.
Autism Care West here in town, the Lovaas Center, a lot of great autism organizations in town.
Yeah. He used to work as a, you were in BCP. I don't know, interventionist.
Registered behavior technician.
Yes, an interventionist, but he worked
yeah, that's an interesting title.
Yeah, there are a lot of weird terms in that field.
Depending on like your education level or how long you've been doing it, but yeah, so when we first met, he had several clients that he worked with on a regular basis. So pretty much he just kind of spent the day sitting in very tiny chairs, hanging out with very tiny children, and kind of some of them, it was like his job was to play video games with the kids and like beat them and then give them tools to deal with being beaten in a game. So like sports personship, if you will. And
yeah,
you can't just throw the game, child.
That is very interesting.
And like self-advocacy. So like there's one kid, he had to poke. And then basically it was like this child needed
Your job is to annoy people and help them deal with it.
Yeah, and so I kept poking him, waiting for him to speak up and say like, "Hey, stop poking me. That's rude." And instead of that, he jumped straight to, "I'm gonna tell Vogue that you can't go on any dates for a year."
No, I think it was 10 years. It was like a body slam. He was like, "You're being mean to me. And I'm going to tell Vogue,
I'm going to ruin your love life for years."
For 10 years. And I was like, stop being mean to that kid.
Yeah.
I will adhere to that child's wishes.
No more poking him in the arm.
Yeah. So he's
trying to clever a way around that lesson, huh?
Those are cool. So yeah, I think those are our spaces. We laugh because we're like,
I feel like my brother would be very well he would be very well versed in doing these things, annoying people and beating them at video games and not being apologetic about it.
And it wasn't always just being annoying. Thankfully, some of it was also being encouraging.
Yeah. Outings. It was like, going shopping for clothes, like school shopping, because sometimes a store is sensory overload. And then movies as well, going to the movie theater. Poor child. We changed plans.
It's crazy. I didn't know at all that you guys were this involved. So I just want to thank the random generator for putting just the most fantastic couple for this particular tip in front of me.
It's kind of just been natural for both of us for a long time. I think we've always been really community oriented. And always been in sort of a space of, even though we haven't always had the most, we've always wanted to give back of whatever we have. And I think that's part of what our relationship is too.
So this room has been lived in by at least 5 different people. Like we bought the house and we really wanted it to be a space where we had poets who were coming in from out of town, like giving them a place to stay. So we wouldn't have, one, so we didn't have to play for a hotel, but like 2, to be like, this is the space where you have a spot to stay. And it didn't actually work out that way because we ended up with roommates instead. And it was people who were kind of either going through life or life was going through them. And it was like, yeah, if you walk the dog and do the dishes, you can stay with us for a couple months. It's whatever. And we just kind of lived and it worked out. But it
sounds like compassion is kind of your thing.
It is. My sister was, you keep taking, she like smiled at me lovingly, but she was like, yeah, you just take in strays. And I was like, well, but we're kind of strays also. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna cry because I'm like, oh, duh. Like we've talked about this, but I'm like, because my grandma adopted my mom. So it's like, I wouldn't be the person I am if my grandmother hadn't raised me.
Right.
And so it's like, a long line of people who have taken me in, even though I was not theirs to take. So it's pretty natural. And AJ has his own reasons too.
My biological parents wouldn't have been able to raise a child on their own. So I was taken in by my biological aunt when I was 6 months old and raised by her and her family. So I've also spent my entire life kind of in this position of, if it wasn't for the kindness of other people who weren't necessarily responsible for me, then I wouldn't be here. So I think it makes it a little extra easy and a little extra rewarding for both of us to be able to give back, that, you know, we wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for other people being willing to reach out a hand and take care of somebody else.
Well, thank you both for your service and your compassion and your community mindedness. I do feel like what you were saying, Vogue, is a perfect segue for you to tell us a bit about your work, because I know that your grandmother plays a big role in a lot of your poetry, but you do other things too. So will you please share some of that with us?
Yeah, I was like, I feel like it's all the same stuff now. I read poems. I teach people how to write poems, and storytelling as well. My grandma was a teacher, and I pretty much grew up a teacher's pet, as I spent a lot of time being the helpful student in her class once I aged out of the group that she was teaching. So I just kind of grew up in classrooms. And so I definitely love being in a learning environment. And I like doing it kind of at my own pace or on my own rules. So I have partnerships with the Neon Museum to teach storytelling, and that's an Ollie class this summer. And it's going to be 43 people. It's going to be lit.
Wow.
And then on the internet, girl. It's going to be, I might need a new screen, babe, to this 43-person class. So I have that class, and then performances throughout the Valley. And I feel like, yeah, most of the information about what I do, the best way to do it is to either follow me on Instagram or to check out my website.
What are your handles and what's
Yes,
the name of your website?
So my website is www.vogue, VOGUE, 316.com. Vogue316.com is my website. And then my handle on Instagram is just at Vogue316. Those are the things. And there's a calendar. I was like, there's an events tab on the website. So click that and you'll be able to get a better handle on what I'm doing. And then, Sundays have Come As You Are on Sundays. And it's literally 1 hour to write. And we talk for like 10 minutes on Zoom. And then you can turn off your camera, write for 15 minutes, Pomodoro method, check in, and then 15 more minutes of writing. And we share if we have time, but we try to keep it concise to 1 hour. But just to give people a way to be accountable to consistently write, even if it's once a week. And I know I need help with that. So we figured we'd do it too.
Wonderful. And AJ, do you have any social media or websites you want to share?
I don't use social media much, but
puppy pictures. Puppy pictures.
Yeah. I am on Instagram at AJ Moyer if you want to follow me for pictures of our golden doodle shock.
Well, thank you both for being on the show, and thank you for trying the tips and doing so much loving, caring stuff in the community. Please go to their sites, support their art, tell them how much you like them on the show. And until next time, just remember to treat love like a verb.